The sun had not yet fully risen when Vicente Almeida saddled the horse and set off toward the headquarters of the farm. It was 38 years old, with thick hands from someone who had worked the land since he was a boy, and a quiet way of looking toward the horizon, as if he were always calculating something he did not say out loud. He had been the foreman of Fazenda Balavista for 12 years. He knew every inch of those lands. He knew where the soil was most fertile, where the stream water ran the cleanest, where the wind blew strongest during harvest time. He was the one who taught the other workers how to prune the coffee plants without harming the new branches. He was the one who, on frosty nights, stayed awake until dawn lighting bonfires among the plantations so that the crops would not die from the cold. The owner of the farm, Mr. Anselmo Teodoro, was a businessman. He had recently bought a strip of land that bordered the old property good land, high land, land that promised to yield twice as many sacks in the next harvest. Vicente arrived at the headquarters office and found the boss sitting behind the desk, with a map spread out and an unlit cigar between his fingers. "Vicente," said Anselmo, without lifting his eyes from the paper, "I need you to start clearing that new area still this week. I want the coffee plants in the ground before the first rains." "Yes, sir. I already sent them in to be separated for that." "There's one thing," continued the boss, finally raising his face. "Right in the middle of the land, there's an old house, one of those made of wattle and daub, with a clay tile roof. It's useless. It just gets in the way of aligning the holes. I want it to be the first thing to come down." Vicente felt a strange tightness in his chest. "But," echoed T. "Explain why." He still hadn't gone there. He still didn't know. "You can leave it to me, Mr. Anselmo." Tomorrow, I always have." The foreman left the office with his hat in his hand and his heart tight, still not understanding the reason for that wait. He mounted the horse and followed the red dirt road that cut through the new property, climbing among tall grass, clumps and trees that had not yet been cut down. It was then that he spotted the clay roof among the trees, and his heart stopped. That house, that yard with the crooked guava tree, that stone well, that veranda of wood worn by time. Vicente dismounted with weak legs. He walked slowly toward the small wooden gate, as if each step could undo what he was seeing. And then, at the door, a bent figure appeared. His mother, Mrs. Aparecida, wiping her hands on her apron, with her white hair tied in a simple bun. "My son," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with surprise. "What good wind brought you here?" Vicente couldn't answer. Behind her, leaning on a wooden cane, appeared his father, Mr. Joaquim, already bent by years of farming, but with the same firm gaze he had always had. "Son," said the old man, smiling, "come here. Come see the new chickens your mother raised." Vicente hugged them both, feeling a knot in his throat that he couldn't undo. How did he not know? How, in all those years, caring for the farm, had he never asked his parents exactly where the little house they had bought so many years ago was located, with the little they managed to save working as sharecroppers? It was there. It had always been there, and now it belonged to the boss. That night, sitting on the old veranda, watching the sun set behind the coffee plants that had not yet been planted, Vicente understood that he would have to choose between two loyalties. Loyalty to the man who gave him his daily bread, and loyalty to the blood that ran in his veins. The following days were the hardest Vicente had ever lived. He did not return to the office to tell what he had discovered. Instead, he sent the workers to start clearing another part of the land, claiming that the soil there was better for immediate planting a bow at time. But he knew he couldn't buy time forever. Every night, after work, he rode to his parents' house. He sat at the wooden table, ate what Mrs. Aparecida prepared, and stayed watching his father tell old stories of how they had built that house with their own hands. Stone by stone, mud wall by mud wall, After years working other people's land without ever having a piece of their own, it was the only place that was truly ours. "My son," said Mr. Joachim, his voice choked. "We worked our whole lives to have this. It's no luxury, I know, but it's ours." Vicente listened to all of that and felt the weight of the decision grow inside his chest like a stone. He had 2 small children to raise. He had a wife, Marlene, who depended on the salary he received from the farm. If he disobeyed the boss, he risked losing everything. The job, the house where he lived, his own family's livelihood. But if he obeyed, it would be him destroying the roof under which his parents had grown old. One night, Marlene found her husband sitting alone in the kitchen, staring at nothing. "What's happening to you, Vicente?" she asked, sitting down beside him. "4 days you've been like this, quiet, not eating properly." He told her everything, the boss's order, his parents' house, the deadline that was running out. Marlene held his hands firmly. "You'll find a way," she said. No. And I know you won't be able to sleep in peace if you tear down that house with your own hands. But what if I lose my job, Marlene? What if he fires me? Then we'll start over. Together. Like we always have." It was that night that Vicente had an idea. He couldn't simply disobey and wait to be fired. He needed a solution that would not embarrass the boss nor destroy his parents' house. He needed to buy that piece of land. The next day, he went to the office with his heart racing. "Mr. Anselmo, I came to ask you a favor," he began, trying to keep his voice steady. "That old house you ordered to be torn down, it was my parents' house. They have lived there for more than 30 years. The boss raised his eyebrows, surprised. "I didn't know that." "Vicente, but the land is mine now, and I need it for the planting." "I know, sir. That's why I came to ask to buy that piece. Just the yard where the house is. You can use the rest of the land however you want. I'll pay whatever fair price." Anselmo crossed his arms. Thoughtful. "Vicente, I've trusted you for 12 years, but business is business. That area is exactly where I wanted to make the access for the carts." "I know, sir, but I've worked for you with dignity all this time. I've never asked for anything beyond my salary. I'm asking now, with all due respect, for a chance to save the only thing my parents built in their lives." There was a long silence. Anselmo looked at the foreman, and perhaps he saw that something money cannot buy. True loyalty, the kind that is not easily sold or bought. "I'll think about it," he said finally. "But it will cost a lot, Vicente. That is good land." "I'll gather the money, sir, whatever it takes." Vicente sold what little he had. 2 head of cattle he had been raising for years, the savings set aside for his children's upbringing, and he even asked for a loan from the store owner, promising to pay in installments taken from his own salary. Marlene sold sweets on the weekends, sewed for others, helped in everything she could. The 2 small children, even though young, understood that something important was happening at home, and they helped by collecting eggs and taking care of the vegetable garden so that their parents would have more time. They were months of doubled work. Vicente continued to carry out every task on the farm with the same dedication as always, but now he also spent the nights doing odd jobs, repairing fences for the neighbors, helping with the harvest on other properties, saving every cent in a biscuit tin hidden under the bed. Mr. Joachim and Mrs. Aparesada knew nothing. Vicente didn't want to worry them until he was sure he could do it. Finally, on a late afternoon in June, Vicente gathered the amount the boss had asked for. He went to the office with the money wrapped in a cloth and his hands trembling, not from fear, but from hope. "Mr. Anselmo, I got the amount," he said, placing the package on the table. The boss counted the money slowly, and then looked at the foreman with an expression Vicente had never seen before, something between respect and astonishment. 12 years working for me, Vicente, and I had never seen you fight like this for anything. Not for a salary increase, not for anything for yourself. This fight wasn't for me, Mr. Anselmo. It was for my parents. It was for the house where I learned to walk, to speak, to respect the work of the land. Anselmo signed the papers right there, transferring that piece of ground to Vicente's name. And before the foreman left, he added, "Know that this doesn't change anything between us. You continue to be the best man who has ever worked on this farm. And now I know why." That night, Vicente went to his parents' house carrying the properly signed papers. He found them sitting on the veranda, as always, watching the sun hide behind the plantation. "Father, Mother," he said, sitting down between them. "This house is yours. Forever. I bought the land." Mr. Joaquim, who had already seen so many difficulties in life, could not hold back his tears. Mrs. Aparecida brought her hands to her chest, unable to believe what she was hearing. "But how, my son? You didn't have all that money." "I worked, Mother, me and Marlene, together. Because this house is not just a house. It is the proof that you built something worth remembering, and I wasn't going to let it turn into a coffee plantation." The three hugged each other on the veranda, while the wind swayed the leaves of the crooked guava tree that Mr. Joaquim had planted more than 30 years ago. The house remained there, with its mud walls and its worn roof. Firmer than ever not, because it had escaped time, but because it had been saved by the strength of a son who chose loyalty instead of convenience. As the years passed, that house became the meeting point for the whole family. Grandchildren grew up playing in the same yard where Vicente had played as a child. And whenever someone asked why that small house continued to stand in the middle of such a large coffee farm, the answer was always the same. There are riches that do not fit in contracts, deeds, or bank balances. The true inheritance we receive from our parents is often not made of brick and mud, but of the example of struggle, honesty, and love that they left engraved in every corner of a simple house. Vicente could have obeyed blindly. He could have claimed that he was just following orders, that work was like that he had no choice. But choosing is exactly that. Finding, even in the most difficult circumstances, a path that does not betray what really matters. True loyalty is not in never confronting the boss, never questioning an order, never taking risks. It is in knowing, deep in the heart, when it is worth fighting and fighting until the end, with dignity, without destroying bridges, without losing respect for anyone. In the end, not everything that seems lost is truly lost. Sometimes, all it takes is a heart willing to pay the price of love. If this story touched your heart, leave your comment telling what you felt. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next story.